Welcome to Do It for the Gram, an Enneagram podcast with your host, certified Enneagram coach, Milton Stewart, where we do it for the Enneagram, not Instagram. We make moves to improve our lives and those in our community. So, this is a very short, special episode that wasn't sent to my podcast editor because I needed to get it out as we are in super election season, just a few days away from voting. Definitely go vote. But this episode is more about for people who are doing deep inner work, who are seeking to grow, change, and be better and create the space around you and your community and outside better. It's kind of a reminder because I was reminded of something that was deep and the true aspects of not only anti-racism work, but definitely inner work as well. It's a combination of them. And it has to do with, I was reminded this of by Dr. Egerton, who is an great Enneagram teacher and has been doing it for a while. She is one of the pioneers of being a Enneagram teacher who is Black, who's been doing this for years and trying to not only just bridge the gap, but help heal people when it comes to racial trauma and different things going on. And so I was reminded this by her, and she'll be on the episode probably pretty soon. I'm going to interview her because she's an absolutely amazing person with quite a bit of wisdom that I'm thankful to learn from. So one thing I remember, because I am in one of her classes, is asking her, me and a good friend, asking her, like, how do we understand people who don't understand? Or it's not even that it's just, it doesn't seem rational, but it's like, how do I understand something that has no understanding? There's no real um, grounding to it, or, like I can understand if you just feel differently than I do. That's easy. I can see that. I'm like, okay, I can understand that. I don't agree with you, but I can see it. But there are some perspectives and views that are not really understandable by, I would say, most people, or by people who are seeking to do and grow and be better. And I'm not talking about like one side. Please don't think it's like, oh, this one side thing. No, no, no. Because I will teach about the law of three in the future, because I think we get stuck in thinking binary, like two things. Like we got two political parties basically, and you got to choose one or the other, all this type of stuff. No, no, no. I'm thinking about greater than that. But in this instance, we asked the question because I was really perplexed and just could not understand how someone can come to the conclusions they come to. And she helped us to go deeper into the fact that um, when you talk about trying to understand someone's perspective, you got to go deeper to understanding maybe them and what are their values in life. What are their own personal traumas? What things do they have that aren't healed up that they're just reacting from? What if they don't have the community or the Enneagram, or willing to go there because of their own issues? And this can be, we all know this can be from a poor person to a rich person. It doesn't matter. Inner work is something that can elude anyone, and that very few people choose to actually take upon and do. So if you're listening, shout out to you, and I hope you're doing your own inner work, because it calls us to be humble and not prideful. And so what I'm saying and what I want to connect to, as these next couple of weeks will still be charged even after this election, um, we have to make sure we hit it with the area of love and from the heart and humbleness, and even curiosity. Dr. Egerton, she called it the love army, and actually to make a difference and change. And I love that terminology because there is one thing, which is love and not being reactive to a lot of the crazy, or the natural way that we want to take upon and face a lot of different things, because that's not the way that transformation really happens a lot of times. It doesn't mean we don't do the work, and that's why I love the army part of the phrase love army, because it's going to take work. We have to do our work, but we have to do our work with love in our hearts. And this is something that hit me when she said it, because I've known this, I've studied this, but you get lost in being frustrated and being hurt, that you start to respond with like, well, I'm going to educate you with facts and logic, and then you will change, or I'll show you, or I'll distance myself, from you and stuff. So it's been eye-opening because I think about it from the lens of even Martin Luther King Jr. and his approach. And he got this approach, and it wasn't just his approach of a nonviolent approach. I think people have it misconstrued of thinking that I just want, it's more of like a passive thing. It's really not necessarily a passive thing at all, really. What it does, though, his point was to not harbor hate, not only in your external experience in the way that you do things, but don't harness it in your heart. Because when you do that, when you actually hit people with love and you do things that are very counter to the way that people will want you to react, or you start reacting like them, it changes people's heart. And that's where transformation happens. It doesn't necessarily happen in the mind. It may happen in the mind for someone who's on the fence and who's like super logical and rational, try to be all the time with thinking about things, right? Maybe, right? But for real transformation to happen, it's going to take relationships, and it's going to take diving deeper into the heart and not taking in hate and harboring it for other people. And that can be hard to do. It can be really hard to love someone, to choose to love someone, despite how hateful, how mean, how cruel, how evil they can be at times. And when I say love them, I don't mean lay down and whimper and all this type of stuff. I mean set healthy boundaries. I don't mean don't have a backbone by far. I mean stand up for it, but do it in love, with love in your heart and love in the way that you do things. Not in a way that it's going to be violent, that I'm going to say these things to put someone down. That's not how we change things. And then we end up looking and acting just like the same people who we're annoyed by. So we have to be very careful. It's a tricky road, and it can be very hard to love people in these situations. If you need to set healthy boundaries, set those things, because some people only seek to hurt and destroy. But you know what? Don't just set those boundaries and hate that person. Still love that person, but still set those healthy boundaries for yourself, because you love yourself a lot too. You know, so I just wanted to speak that because I think it's very important in this time, because people are going to be crazy, and it's going to make your instincts go crazy a little bit, especially your self-preservation instinct. If you're a dominant in that one, you really have to be careful in this time, because it's heightened. And so when you start reacting out of instincts, and that's anyone, because we all have the self-pres instinct. Anyone in this time, if you're reacting out of that, whether it's your low one or your high one, you could be really erratic at times. And so you got to be careful. You got to make sure you drink enough water, got to make sure you take vitamin C, vitamin D, all of these different things, work out, get you some hot tea, eat you some good food, get you some good sleep. All these things are going to be important into dealing with this time when we're talking about dealing with the stress or the heightened awareness of just the feeling of it that's going around. So make sure you take into account all of these things as we deal with these next couple of weeks, probably months before we have possibly a presidential change in the office. So make sure you're doing these things and entering this time where it's going to be cold, it's going to be a lot going on, because that's the only way that we're going to be able to be healthy and still create that change we want to actually create, because that is the thing. Like this summer, it was about waking up for a lot of people in our community of America, right? It was waking up to the fact that all this stuff is so messed up, and it's going on, it's been going on. Systematic racism is super real. um, but at the same time, using that anger and that fire to make sure that make that into like a strong, loving action in the way that I do things. You know, like turning that anger, that hurt, that pain, that frustration into a way to still be able to work on healing myself, but also love people and understand that I got to have empathy and compassion for them at the same time, for other people who may be totally different. Their points make no sense in any type of way, but I still have to have love and compassion for them if I expect them to be able to be transformed, if I expect to actually be a better person doing my own inner work. So I just wanted to share that because that was really heavy and big on my heart as we are doing this whole election thing. And it's extremely divisive in our country, unfortunately. And there's some really sad things going on. But I just wanted to share that with you all. Stay safe, take care of yourself. If you don't have a support group, I pray that you find some people that you can actually be able to be vulnerable and open with. And I have some ideas around that I may be creating going forward. So look forward to that. But those are some very important things. So Thank you for listening to this episode. I just really wanted to share that with you all because it's super important. And I'll see you on the next episode. I'm going to be going into some more things, diving deeper into the Enneagram as winter comes. I've had a lot going on. I know it's been a while since I've dropped episodes. Thank you so much, all, for your support still. It's still wonderful people sending me messages and uh, thanking me for the content, but I thank you for your support. When I first put these things out, I didn't know what it would turn into. I didn't know what it would do, but I've been so blessed and I'm so humbled by all of you all. So thank you so much. I'll keep this episode short. But remember, do it with your heart, okay? And it can be hard to tap into that, but make sure you do things from your heart area, okay? And besides that, you can support on Patreon. And I also have a program coming up that I'm really excited about if you're truly thinking about transforming your life and want to share and use the Enneagram in your profession. I'm teaching the Enneagram for 12 weeks starting January, called the Kaizen Complete Enneagram Program. I have put hours and hours and hours and hours and still putting hours in on this program, and I'm so excited for you all to be able to be a part of it. And it's going to be community based, and you can go to it from the link within the podcast episode show notes. So thank you so much. Be safe. Love you all. And talk to you soon. Bye.